made to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This episode is brought to you by Clothes for Chiro, Chiro Sushi, Barbara Eaton's 56-day chiropractic bootcamp, Moveville University, Pure Chiro Notes, Dr. Alok Trivedi, the Black Diamond Club, Element Mattresses, Legacy Wealth Management, Posture Screen, Vita Chiropractic, the Universal Traction System, MedZone, Vantage Point Marketing, and Imaging Services. Let's hustle.
Alright guys, welcome to episode 38 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. I'm your co-host Luke Millette. Here's your host, Jim Chester.
So we had an honor to interview Lindsey Mathews today with BIRTHFIT, and if you guys want to know how to take care of before pregnancy, during pregnancy, and after pregnancy, Lindsey Mathews is the one you want to listen to and join the BIRTHFIT movement. So, Dr. Lindsey, first question for you is, what is your chiropractic story and what influenced you to become a chiropractor?
What influenced me? How long is this podcast?
It could be anywhere from half an hour to 45 minutes usually.
That's good. Well, those that know me, probably way back, or if they've been to one of our BIRTHFIT seminars, they know that I'll share a little bit of my story. And it's that I went to school to, college, and I studied pre-med, and I was going to be an orthopedic surgeon. That's what I wanted to do. And, these moments of divine intervention step in, and I took off a semester to study abroad in Africa and do these medical mission trips, and it was there I realized that I couldn't save the world with medication. I had this one really unique experience where this mom brought her son to me at the clinic, and the clinic is it's a small room, or it was a small room, and people would wait in line, for hours to come in and see us, where we would do just basic medical triage, and then we would prescribe medication with the overseeing docs that were there. And this mom brought her kiddo in, and he was 6 or 7, paralyzed on majority of the left side of his body, and he was having seizures, and they wanted to prescribe him a sedative whenever he had those seizures. And for some reason, I just stopped in my tracks, and I was I don't know, this doesn't make sense. And at the time I was, a college kid, 20, 21 years old. And I just said, no, I can't do this anymore. This little kiddo was, just looking at me for help. And so I brought the mom out of the clinic. I took my translator out there, and I told the mom, hey, this little kiddo's the same spirit that he was from day one, just kind of had some gnarly battles. And, you can take the medication if you want, but when we're gone and you run out, then there will be nobody here to prescribe it. And, he's not possessed, because that's what she thought. He's the same little boy, and the best thing you can do is keep him safe and love him, and try to use his left arm to the best of his abilities. So that was a big fork in the road for me. And that was, I think, around 2004, 2005. And I came back to my hometown, which is New Braunfels, Texas. And I waited tables. And I was trying to figure out, what the heck I wanted to do with my life. And I ended up hanging out and shadowing Dr. Stamps, who is one of the best chiros and nicest guys I've ever met. But he actually helped me through high school when I tore my ACL, and helped me prior to surgery and after surgery. So I went back to him and I started shadowing him, and then I realized that's what I wanted to do. So that was the beginning of my chiro journey, I would say.
So what would you say makes you unique in the chiropractic world?
I would say that obviously BIRTHFIT. I've taken what I've learned and made it my own style. For me, chiropractic is as much a science and an art as anything. And like we were talking about before this started, there's different ways that people practice, and there's probably no two ways or two styles that are the same. But I've taken a lot of what I learned and morphed it into, I would call it my own style. And I believe really heavily in the chiropractic philosophy, and I love the 33 principles. But if I went to, let's say, like Life West, they may consider me, dare I say, a mixer. Or if I went to the school that I went to, which was LACC/SCUHS, they would call me a straight. So, like, I wouldn't fall in any of those categories, which is hilarious. But I would say, yeah, I've been on a mission to serve people since I had an experience and realized that in like the 4th grade. But it doesn't matter what label people put on me. Like, my mission and the legend that I will leave behind is BIRTHFIT. And so I think that's pretty unique.
Just really quickly for the folks at home, could you explain what BIRTHFIT is for anyone who doesn't know?
Yeah, so BIRTHFIT, let me see if I can keep it into like two or three sentences. BIRTHFIT is a movement, and for us, it is a state of readiness specific to the motherhood transition and childbirth and all that it encompasses. And we achieve this state of readiness through an evolved practice in fitness, nutrition, chiropractic, and mindset. So, yeah, BIRTHFIT. Cool. You could kind of take that apart and dissect the words, but I think the word fit literally means something like capable of. So it involves mind, body, and soul, like getting capable, getting all the abilities, mind, body, and soul ready for birth, whatever birth may be for you. If it's a vaginal birth at home, a vaginal birth in the hospital, or a cesarean birth due to some complications, like there's always a way to design it with your values and desires in mind.
Very cool. How long has this been a program?
Yeah, so I started a blog in 2011, and I would say I started to get my shit together in 2014. But really within the last 3 to 4 years, it's taken off, and we now have 93 regional directors across the United States and Canada.
Wow.
So, yeah,
That's
goal
awesome.
is to, yeah. I tell the girls my goal is to have BIRTHFIT available in every major city and town, and to also, help them be entrepreneurs and lead women in their communities, in their areas.
Wow, it sounds like you have a really strong brand, and it sounds like you have a great momentum going with the women's community. And that's one of the things we're doing here with Chiro Hustle, is we're shining a light on the voice of women chiropractors. And it sounds like you have a lot of strategies involved with getting the chiropractic message out there.
I try. I mean, I wouldn't say I had anything planned out, but it's just me living out the path that I think the universe has for me.
Well, do you have any special mantras or quotes that help you on that path?
Ooh, well, let me think. I think the biggest thing is to be authentic. Like, it's really hard for people to believe you like in your mission and everything if you're not coming from a place of authenticity and vulnerability. So I think that's a big thing. But people always say that one of my quotes is "just do you," which would go along the lines of authenticity. But there's a quote that I like by Viktor Frankl, and the quote's, I'll try not to butcher it, but it's something along the lines of, between a stimulus and a response, there is a space, and in that space is our power to choose, and in that lies our growth and our freedom and how we evolve from there. So, that's very mindset related, but also like you can cultivate this in a gym setting. You can cultivate this with your relationship with food. And I think you can set the pace of whatever you want life to be, rather than trying to keep up with the rat race around you.
Very cool. I can definitely get behind that message too.
Awesome.
So tell us, what would more people be able to accomplish if everyone knew and utilized BIRTHFIT?
Like the general public?
Moms and kids and patients. Like, what would the world be like if more people knew about your program?
Yeah, I think the world would be a much more pleasant, loving space. My research and how I started diving into birth and the way we give birth here in America and around the world started with, I would see these things like the infant mortality rate here in the U.S. and how the U.S. is sicker than it's ever been, and things like just like numbers and facts like that. And so I kept going, okay, let's go step back. So let's go back to our lifestyle. Okay, let's go back to when we were kiddos. Let's go back even further. And, the stuff led me back to even like preconception and pregnancy. And, the womb is not, that sterile bubble that we once thought it was. Like even when I was in college, I had a friend that got pregnant, and she was like, oh, good, I can eat whatever I want now. And I remember her saying that, and I was like, I don't know if that's true, and at the time,
Yeah.
Ignorance was bliss, but I was like, yeah, I don't know. But there's so much research out, and that just shows that the energy state, the nutrition, and everything from the mom and how she moves, that influences baby. And then even, I think it's something like 3 months prior to conception, both the nutrition of mom and dad have a lot to do with setting the foundation for baby. So I think in the next few years, we'll see more and more research that supports, the awareness around the motherhood transition. But I think just in the general sense, like if people could sign up for BIRTHFIT postpartum series or BIRTHFIT prenatal series, they would get emotional support, mental support, as well as that community and physical support. And I think that's only going to enhance communities and villages around the United States and rest of the world.
Yeah, and I see what you do, and it's pretty cool. You teach people how to transition, like you said, before they're like anticipating like the whole path of pregnancy, during the pregnancy, after the pregnancy. I see that you support the women big time, and I'm sure you've had a chance to meet some pretty dynamic people doing this process too, right?
Yeah, for sure. I've met a lot of people, and I would say the freaking rock stars are the moms that gather all the information, and then they make their own intuitively guided choices. And to plant your feet on the ground, be grounded, discover your values, and then stand up for what you believe is pretty ballsy in today's age.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. And one of the questions I had for you is, I think you said you have like 94 regional directors, right?
Yeah.
When do you hit 100?
Well, our goal this year was actually to hit 75, but we passed that, which was pretty rad. So next year, I think our goal will obviously be 100, but more like 150. It just depends on the number of applications we receive.
That's so cool. Like one of our sponsors is 8 Weeks to Wellness, and that's Dane Donahue. And he has those 8 Weeks to Wellnesses, I think, in 90 some locations as well. And it's really cool to see people
awesome.
that actually get a brand going, and it makes sense to like you said, the universe. And
Yeah.
then people can really learn from it and, use the concept to make a better quality of life. And I think that's
For sure.
when you get something that has power and strategy behind it, even if, like you said, hey, I don't know what I was doing, I just started doing it.
Yeah, and I've been one to really, I think meditation's been huge, and I've developed that more over the past probably 7-8 years than anything. But I think trusting in the universe and having faith, that's a big thing. Because my goal wasn't to build a company to make money. It was a goal to, like you said, to make this world a better place.
You've made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This episode is brought to you by Clothes for Chiro, Chiro Sushi, Barbara Eaton's 56-day chiropractic bootcamp, Moveville University, Pure Chiro Notes, Dr. Alok Trivedi, The Black Diamond Club, Element Mattresses, Legacy Wealth Management, Posture Screen, Vita Chiropractic, the Universal Traction System, MedZone, Vantage Point Marketing, and Imaging Services. Let's hustle. Yeah, but you've niched into a very specific group of people that needed some leadership, obviously, and they needed a system that they could work.
Totally, and to give them tools.
Yeah, and I think it's bigger than us too. With us doing the Chiro Hustle podcast, it's definitely bigger than us because we get a chance to support a profession like we were discussing off interview. It's very misunderstood, even from the chiropractor standpoint.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure.
So, where do you personally see the chiropractic profession going in 20 years?
Ooh, in 20 years, so... In 20 years, I'll be 55. Okay. Well, I would say, and like we spoke about earlier, I think people need to get on board with the same mission. We were talking about how there's, just differences within the chiropractic profession. And I think we just need to stop using the words straights and mixers and stuff like that. But that's me, and realize that we're all in this game to help people. And when we acknowledge that first, then we can acknowledge each other's differences and really offer a sense of true belonging. I don't know if you've read any of Brene Brown's work, but her definition of true belonging is something that we use a lot in BIRTHFIT. Like, we have a whole code of ethics, we have a handbook, and for us, true belonging is being able to respect each other and the different paths that they took, while also being able to stand on your own. And I think that's so powerful. The unique thing about the chiropractic profession is you go to school for whatever 3 to 5 years, and then you're done, depending on the school. But, I think the chiropractic profession could be really awesome if we started having these, avenues or residency programs similar to like the med school route. Because if you just thought about it, and if med school just stopped after 4 years, like chiropractic school, then they might have the same issues that we have where, no, this chiro practices pregnancy and pediatrics, or this one practices sports, or this one practices GI stuff, or whatever, So I think the profession as a whole would really do itself some good if we united and acknowledged the science and the art behind it, and all came from the same place. Then we could acknowledge each other's differences and maintain that respect there. I think that would be cool. But chiropractic works, so I don't see it going away in 20 years. I see it still being around. So, I think it's an art and a science that will forever be around.
Yeah, and I appreciate you saying some of those things. That just sparked a lot of, I had a lot of thought flashes coming, and one of those was, the idea of straight and mixer. I mean, that goes back to like conveyor belt like technology. Like we're like the app technology era. Like we're like social era. We're millennials and Wi-Fi generations. Like I think that when we talk about straight and mixers, that's like
dinosaur talk.
It's like dinosaur talk to me.
Yeah.
So I think that we need to change the conversation, and I think that's what I'm noticing a lot more. The profession's becoming more progressive, but you're still going to have the dogmatic strategists of the past still with their hands on the profession. And what they're doing is they just want to, I honestly believe, this might be controversial, but I honestly believe that the old chiropractors trying to bleed out all the money they can for themselves and without letting the chiropractic profession transcend. And I think that's a big problem for me when I see what's going on is the old front is definitely wanting to stay in control, but I think there's so many new practitioners that are coming out with a bigger voice that they can't stop them anymore.
Yeah, and I forgot what show this was on, but there's a little line, a phrase in the beginning that says the revolution will not be televised. That might be like Homeland or something, but that line has always stuck with me. So it's like, whether it's on social media, like Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, people are going to have a voice. And if you don't evolve with it or you don't acknowledge it and you just try to stick to your old ways and not evolve, then you're going to be left behind.
Yeah, and I think that it's a bigger conversation for the future of chiropractic. And I think, honestly, that the future leaders, the ones that we're interviewing now, are going to be the ones that figure out how to, unify the profession for what they can and to tell a better narrative going forward.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. That's awesome.
So let's chat marketing for a minute. What are some of your top marketing strategies with BIRTHFIT, and how do you get your brand out to people?
Yeah, I would say I wish I could answer this question like I have a legit marketing plan, but I don't. I just met with my business coach for the 2018 year, and we get together and spend 2 full days. And he's like, how did people find you this year? And I was like, word of mouth. He was like, you didn't do any advertising. I was like, well, not really. That's going to be on the docket for next year. But in all seriousness, I would say Instagram and social media is our number one avenue. And that's where people can see us. They can see the real us that's behind the BIRTHFIT tribe. And if they want to join us, they can. And if not, they don't have to. That's a free place for us to show who we are. We have Facebook groups, we have a general BIRTHFIT Facebook group that we'll make announcements and stuff like that in there. But I would say Facebook and Instagram are the number one things for us. And then when we started our BIRTHFIT podcast, which is almost 2 years old, I would say that that's also been a useful tool for us to communicate with people and develop content and be able to refer back to that content for people, which is rad.
That's funny that you mentioned Instagram. I've had an Instagram account for about 5 years now, and I've never used it until about 3 days ago. And I think I've posted 150 times in the last 4 days. And so I apologize to anyone who's following me. It's like, Luke, what did you do to Instagram? Everything is yours.
Yeah. I grew up in, I went to college. I went to Texas A&M. And my last semester there is when we got Facebook. And I remember my sister, who was 2 years younger than me, she said, hey, I'm going to sign you up for this thing called Facebook. Or at the time, it was the Facebook. And I was like, I don't know about that. So she signed me up, and I didn't use it for maybe a year. But same thing with Instagram. When that came out, my now fiance, but he was my boyfriend at the time, he was like, you need to sign up for Instagram. I was like, why? I never use that stuff. He was like, you have a business. You need to sign up for this. I was like, okay. But it's works quite well for us.
So I know you touched on those two things. What got you spurred to do the podcast?
I can't really pinpoint one thing that I think. I'm trying to think of an experience or a moment in time that I was like, oh, yeah, let's do a podcast. But I will say it's been one of the best decisions because for the reasons I mentioned earlier, it's so helpful being able to like run into a mom, let's say at a grocery store, and I start having a conversation, and she's like, let's say she had a miscarriage, and she's like, I have nothing, no resources, you know. So then I can say, oh my gosh, we've done at least 2 or 3 miscarriage or loss episodes. Like, here are the episodes. Take a look. Email me if you need any support, any questions, anything like that. Which is like that's a free information, free support, and I think that's just been a really useful tool. The hardest thing, as you know, about the podcast is the consistency of it. So if I would have known the commitment going into it, I probably wouldn't have done it. But no, I'm super glad I did. And the guy that helps me out, Machete, he's been wonderful and like just a beacon of support for that.
So when you finally have some spare time, what do you like to listen to, and what do you like to read? Like, what do you feed your brain when you're not working?
Let me think. Well, I just got done reading Principles by Ray Dalio, which is a fantastic book for businesses and organizations. That's a thick one, so don't travel with it. But I'm reading the autobiography by Andre Agassi right now, which has been around a while, but I recently did NLP master's training, and one of the guys that I worked with throughout that training told me, hey, you would really like this book. And so I just started it, and so far I'm really enjoying it. But yeah, I like to read and listen to. Okay, people are gonna laugh, but I do love country music. So anything by Ryan Bingham, I love.
But he's not so much country.
No, but his raspy voice, like that's gold. So yeah, I like good music, good books, and good food. Yeah.
So we're starting to get towards the end of our episode for today. What are some social media links or web links that you can give people as resources?
Yeah, so if they want to find BIRTHFIT, they can just go to birthfit.com, or they can find BIRTHFIT at BIRTHFIT on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook. We have all of that. We do have a private BIRTHFIT Facebook group. And if they want to find me, my private page, my Instagram thing is Gig'emLindsey. So those are all the handles.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything that you'd like to share with our audience that we might not have asked you today?
Well, I will share that I mentioned the 4 pillars of BIRTHFIT: fitness, nutrition, chiropractic, and mindset. And I will say that I settled on those 4 pillars based on my experience as a doula and a chiropractor. And so like this moment in time, I only take on clients that are practicing, and I say practicing because we never reach perfection, but practicing each of those 4 pillars to some degree in their lifestyle. So if they're doing strength and conditioning twice a week, if they're meditating, if they're creating a relationship with real food and receiving chiropractic care, then you are my ideal doula client. And so that's who I would take on as a client there.
That sounds like us.
Yeah. I mean, you can apply those 4 pillars to anything in life, really.
I'm not so certain that I'm a doula quite yet. I'm still trying to master this chiropractic advocacy path.
That'll be your next journey. Go down the doula route.
He's still practicing.
I love it.
Well,
cool.
All right. That just about wraps up this episode. I want to thank you for being our guest today.
Thank you for having me. It's great to meet y'all virtually.
Yeah, Dr. Lindsey, you're great. We'll have to friend request each other on Facebook because we're not to that point yet.
Yeah, reach out.
And you should follow me on my new Instagram
Your
addiction.
Instagram. I love it. Yeah. Well, cool. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, you too. Enjoy Colorado.
We will. See you, Lindsey.
All right, bye, guys.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.